Fall in love with being on the ground because you're going to get knocked down a lot.
That consumes most of my time, if I'm being honest, is managing people in those long stretches in between moments of euphoria.
I have interest in business. I have interest in mentoring. I have interest in being a producer. And sometimes all those things line up perfectly, and sometimes it all crashes in on one day.
The whole point of it is that making great art is going to be a hard process.
Hey guys, I'm Danny Ross, songwriter, producer, and Forbes music columnist. And this is the show where we take a deep dive and talk directly with the most powerful people in the music industry about leading a successful career and life. I'll pop in occasionally too. Today we have 3 #1 hit songwriters and producers, along with their entrepreneurial manager. They talk about making records behind the scenes, mentorships, starting businesses, revenue streams, and more than anything else, falling in love with the process, not the results, in a career in music. But easier said than done. This was a 5-way Zoom call, so you know how those go. Pardon any internet glitches. This is an amazing episode. Before we get started, make sure to destroy the like button. It's right there.
My name is Oak Felder. I was born and raised in Istanbul, Turkey. I'm the only 400-pound black turkey you'll ever meet in your life. I produce records for people like Demi Lovato and Rihanna and Alessia Cara.
My name is Nolan Lambroza. I'm a Los Angeles-based songwriter and producer. My best-known songs are probably Jealous by Nick Jonas and Selena Gomez, Good For You.
I'm David Hodges. I'm a songwriter in Nashville. I was in a band called Evanescence and written songs like 1,000 Years with Christina Perri or Because of You with Kelly Clarkson. That's it, just those 3.
I'm Lucas Keller. I own Milk and Honey, which has been around for about 6 years now.
Are you feeling creative throughout the pandemic, and how has it affected your workflow and revenue and that kind of thing?
I hate it. I hate it with a passion. I absolutely 100% cannot stand it. And I'm gonna tell you why. But man, trying to write a song over FaceTime or Zoom is like watching Chopped instead of actually cooking. It's so appetizing looking. It's like, at the end of the day, when they present the dish to the judges, you can't taste it. You know what I'm saying? So it's to me, the intimacy and the, the physical proximity of working with someone is honestly a part of the chemistry. You know, I can't tell if somebody's tapping their foot.
The spark and of the song, the germination of it happening all at once is almost impossible to recreate.
We're always interrupting each other while we're writing because you're excited about a thing and you want to be interrupted because someone's like, oh, I love that, but what if we do this or we change this? And you can't talk over each other in this setting. And man, that kills the momentum so much.
In general, the people who I've seen thrive during the pandemic are doing a couple of things. 1, they're using this extra time to be introspective. 2, they're committing to healthy behavioral changes like exercise, meditation, reading. And 3, they're using this time to think about their career differently, working smarter, not harder.
Maybe just tell like a 1-minute story of from where you started and to where you are now.
I moved to the US when I was in my early 20s to finish my college education, not really intending to be a producer or be in the music industry. But since I knew my way around the studio, I kind of had like a side hustle of doing, recordings for people for just extra cash on the side. And one of those side hustle jobs that I did ended up getting the artist that I did it for signed to a major label. L.A. Reid gave me one of my first shots by allowing me to work on whoever he had signed to his label at the time. He was running Def Jam at the time. Eventually, I produced a record called Your Love for Nicki Minaj, which was my first top 10 record. That success hasn't stopped yet, so fingers crossed.
I wanted to be a guitar player for Bon Jovi, pretty much. Just any 80s rock band. I went to Berklee College of Music and I realized I was a small fish in a big pond, and I realized I love pop songs, and it made sense because I loved all these 80s songs, all these 80s bands, but I found myself wanting to be behind the scenes more than on stage. I hated being on stage and I loved being a part of the songwriting process. Realized LA was the place to go, so I came out here and I interned a bunch. Just kind of weaseled my way in like everybody else, you know. I got my first publishing deal because I tweeted a bunch of songwriters and only one got back to me.
We moved out to LA and spent a couple of years with Evanescence writing that record. Because of the success of that record, an opportunity with Kelly Clarkson and watching her artistry come out in the process of writing Because of You and Addicted, another song on that Breakaway record, really made me excited about the whole process. And then from there, being able to sit in the room with a country artist and be a country artist that day, or to sit with a rock band and be a rock band that day, or be with a pop artist, it's been really exciting. So lived in LA for about 15 years doing that, and have been doing it for about 4 now in Nashville.
Yeah, born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, was a concert promoter and played in punk rock bands. And in 2002, I started managing artists and ended up at The Collective in 2009, where David and I met. We've been working together for, is it 11 years, I guess?
Yeah, coming up on 11.
11 years. Milk and Honey really started from my relationship with David. The reward for good work is more work, and by 65 plus clients just on a relationship and a handshake with the songwriter.
This is a reminder that the music industry consists of smart people who could be doing anything else in the world and be making a lot more money. And yet we choose to do this because music is truly a calling. And it may be the one industry where every single path to the top is different. There's no guidebook, there's no test to take. For people like me, who like control, that's a nightmare. But on the other hand, you have to know who you are to make it in music. And that makes you stronger and wiser in all the other areas of your life. I'll take that over any other job.
What's the difference between an artist manager and a songwriter producer manager?
Oh, wow. I don't know if we have that many hours. As an artist manager, that job is talking to the record label, marketing and setting up releases, talking to the booking agent, putting tour dates out. In the writer-producer world, it really is all about one song. Producer-writer's revenue streams are obviously music publishing revenue, production fees. When one of those songs becomes a success, the 3, 4, 5 royalty points really add up to a lot of money.
And so, David, how did Third and Verse come about?
And there was a guy named Steve Solomon being around, and we loved making music together. And I started calling up publishers that I knew at big publishing companies saying, hey, I think you should sign this guy. And no one was interested. Lucas and I had a conversation. We're like, well, maybe let's just start a publishing company because I believe in him. At first, it wasn't about building a big publishing company. It really was just, I wanted to write songs with Steve, and I kind of wanted to stick the middle finger to all the majors who said no to us. And when Steve had that big hit with James Arthur, but being able to walk on stage at the BMI Awards as a publisher was a profoundly important moment to me, because something that took me 100 hours to learn, I can transfer that information off to somebody else in the course of an hour or less, and then they can pass that stuff down as well. And man, the multiplication of that's a life worth living, I think. Like, I really think on my tombstone, I hope it says storyteller.
David also hopes that it doesn't say on his tombstone, keyboard player from goth band Evanescence.
Ex-keyboard player, even better.
Something that surprised me about this industry is that even the most successful creatives never consider themselves establishment, even if you or I do. You'd think that if you sell millions of records and had #1 hits, that you'd be in the inner circle. But remember, this is an industry full of outcasts and misfits. You don't get rewarded for being polite. You get rewarded for being a rebel.
It's like starting a fire with wet wood. It's hard to get your first hit, have your first kind of success that you can then leverage. No major publisher could put a writer on as fast as any of these guys, period, end of story. I've been pitching songs for years. I gotta tell you, people still want to hear from these guys. It means a lot.
My uncle, he said, you have to remember one thing about the way business works in America. I said, what? He said, over there, you sign a bad deal, it's your fault. And that scared the hell out of me, man, because it sort of put the onus on the one person who doesn't have the experience in the situation. When it finally got to the point where I wanted to develop, my own group of people, I had an opportunity to be the guy who's experienced and the guy who's morally correct. And so I ended up signing these 2 amazing producers, Zaire Kowalo and Downtown Trevor Brown. It's a privilege, man, doing this. You know what I mean? Like, some of the jobs I've had before this, it is an absolute privilege to be able to make music for them. And I instill that into the guys that I work with. I tell them every day, look, you could be bagging groceries tomorrow. You could be doing anything tomorrow other than what you're doing. Everyone that I had ever come across and talked about potentially, hey, you know, maybe I want to start a situation, they always gave me like advice on how to screw people. Like, I sat down with Lucas, actually one of the first time that we ever sat down. He asked me an honest question, man. He's like, look, basically telling me, look, if you're gonna do this, if you're gonna sign people, just make sure you're in a position to do it. He thinks of things in terms of doing right by people. And it really is that simple for me, man.
You know, there has to be a moral compass there, and you know, there's too many stories of people around town that signed to somebody and then they disappear.
Danny, this is probably not a sexy version of it, but I honestly think teaching young writer to think about the rhyme scheme of the verses, the point of view and the storyline, but maybe the best thing that I feel like the guys that I've been able to work and girls that I've been able to work with, them seeing me continue to fail, continue to work my ass off and really dig in and have plaques on the wall and still not win every time. Because I do think the perception on the outside is like, oh man, every song Nolan writes is going to be a hit. Look at all the success that Oak is having. I'm sure that it's just easy for him now. And man, no successful writer or producer is it ever easy for us. The whole point of it is that that making great art is going to be a hard process.
I give one correction, which is that for me anyway, the song construction is about as sexy as it gets. Probably true for anyone in this room, right? Oak, that reminded me of a follow-up question I wanted to ask. You were talking about some of the ways that you felt that you got screwed or that people had bad intentions when dealing with you sort of earlier on in your career. You don't have to name names or be specific if you don't want, but just for others.
Name the names.
Name the
names. Man, I really do want to name names, but I'm not going.
Witch hunt.
I know, right? It was very disheartening up until a certain point for me, because I was just constantly coming across those types of people. And now I'm sitting here looking at this Zoom call, and I know the quality of character of each of the people that I'm on here with.
I think a lot of people in the music industry look for the quick cash, and so that they sign a producer or, you know, the major label and major publisher game. A lot of it is signing hot records that are popping off, you know, that they can make a quick buck on. And that works when you have a lot of, you know, a big stop and a lot of capital. But, you know, we're just here, me, David, and Oak, we have to face our people, you know? We have to look into their eyes and watch them either be heartbroken or happy. You want them to build a brand, you want them to have a name, because then they go out and get records on their own. They have big chunks up, and that's where you start to see the game, you know?
You've mentioned that the ventures are how Milk and Honey gets to $100 million. And like Justin Timberlake in The Social Network and saying, you know what's not cool? $1 million. But you know what it is cool? $1 billion.
Our view was always that we wanted to spend the first 5 years being a great management company, and then after that, and along the way, we would start businesses with clients. Because to me, asset-based stuff is how you build a really big company. Owning assets obviously are things that are tangible that you can sell. A lot of these things sell on a multiple. Publishing catalogs sell between a 10 and a 18 times multiple.
He's right. Take a minute to learn about Warren Buffett, one of the richest people in the world, or Jimmy Iovine, a music producer, one of us, turned billionaire because he created businesses and he sold them. Assets is the name of the game.
Now that you're running businesses, is it affecting how you look at creativity? Is it just an extension of your creativity into another realm?
I like doing a lot of things, and I have basically tailored all of the businesses that I want to get into around those things so that they can have their own natural inertia. But having said that, I know that if I'm not the best at the original thing,
Right.
then all of the rest of that shit does not matter.
That's very true.
None of it matters, bro. None of it. And so it's like, you still have to get in the studio. You still have to kill it. Me and the guys that I have signed have beat battles because I want to make sure that they still understand who the king of the hill is. You know what I'm saying?
Even after your TED Talk and your Apple commercials?
Yeah. And ultimately, at the end of the day, all those other things are great to be known by. But I am a husband, I'm a father, and I'm a record producer.
I still don't know whether, building a business or if I should have just focused on staying writing, producing songs every day. I don't know which one's right or wrong. And I have interest in business. I have interest in mentoring. I have interest in being a producer. And sometimes all those things line up perfectly and Monday through Friday is very well organized. And sometimes it all crashes in on one day. It can get difficult, but I think that's like the challenge. I don't think anyone that makes upwards of 7-8 figures a year is really just doing one simple thing over and over again. I think they're probably using their brain in a bunch of different ways, wearing multiple different hats, and then you just have to know how to pull the business part out of it when you're making the music. No one wants to make music with the
businessman.
I always think it's going to get easier, but it doesn't. It just stays as difficult as it was.
Chinese bamboo, you have to water for 5 years, and it doesn't grow. And then after 5 years, it grows like up to 90 feet in 5 weeks. And I think it's like a great example of like these businesses and just like having blind faith.
I hate blind faith, but music is a prospective business, meaning you rarely get money up front and usually get money only on the back end. And that's only if you get lucky and win the lottery by getting a sync or getting a cut. Jack Antonoff has said the universe was telling him to stop pursuing music because he wasn't getting that encouragement to keep going. None of us really do. Not enough anyway.
Well, guys, I'm gonna wrap up and let you all get back to running your businesses and making hit records. I'll just go around once more. And
think about it. There were 3 hit records that weren't made today. Actually, no. Statistically, only one of them's a hit. So
I'll start by saying just what an honor and how special it is to have all 4 of you guys in the same place, if digitally, because you're all worthy of your own front page profile. So thanks for doing this.
Well, thank you.
Fall in love with being on the ground because you're going to get knocked down a lot. You have to be okay with that moment of doubt, and you can't allow it to stop you, because the only difference, in my opinion, between success and failure is whether or not you stop.
You have to be self-editing. You're probably wrong most of the time about most of the things, your early instincts. So, take some time, be patient, and try not to take things personally. It's not personal. Like, you make a piece of art, it's great, but you're trying to put it out into the world, and and it has to be the best it can be. And so you have to take outside criticism, outside feedback. And you don't always have to listen, but you should listen with an open mind at least,
In real life, in any career, there's short bursts of euphoria, and then there's everything else in between. And I think that in careers like this, people sometimes get addicted to success and they expect it and they think that that's the norm, and it's just not. It's not normal in life. And so people are really let down in those valleys in between. That consumes most of my time, if I'm being honest, is managing people through, in those long stretches in between moments of euphoria.
The truly extraordinary man is the truly ordinary man. Kierkegaard.
If you ever get lucky enough to have a song that wins an award or is in the top 20 on the charts, the day that song succeeds is probably 3 years after you made it. And if you're doing your job right, then I gotta be fully invested in the song that I'm writing and working on today. It sounds cheesy, but then that becomes its success. But if you don't love the product and you're only looking for the success of it, then I guarantee that the success will never come, because you've got to aim on what's in front of you in the moment. So
through quantity of trying things, you find the quality. Through trying things, you find the kind of pieces that fit. And then in reflection, it's like, oh wow, this guy's a genius because he had all these hit songs. But all of you guys have spreadsheets of songs in between that didn't come out or didn't chart or didn't happen.
The quantity of trying things. In the last 10 years, I led a 60s soul band, a synth pop band, an indie rock band. I worked for Congress, Forbes magazine, my parents' eyeglasses business. It's the variety of experience that shows you what works and what doesn't.
There's a tendency, especially in this country, to equate success with money.
What else is that? Sorry, was there something?
I thought money was just the synonym for success. So how much does it cost? 200 successes.
Well, I tell my happy wife and my healthy kids, the only thing that matters is money. So
We're on the right business then.
it's good.
We're in the wrong business. We just got lucky.
Yeah, well, I'll see you soon.
We'll do.
Yeah, well, hang soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, fellas.
Guys.
Good to see you.
Care.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe and let me know what you think in the comments. See you next time.